Hello, everybody. Welcome to tonight's edition of From the Boardroom to the Locker Room. Nice to have you along with us. And let's start with the World Athletics Championship. So it was 8 years, long years, 9 tense days of competition in Tokyo. And Team South Africa finally won a World Athletics Championship medal. They blazed to bronze in the 4x400 meters for each of the quartet who battled through 1,600 meters on a rain-soaked track in 2 minutes 57.83 seconds. The podium finish provided some kind of personal vindication. For opening leg runner Leith Pillay, it was redemption after a poor Paris Olympics and World Relays. For 20-year-old world junior champion Udemy Ocon, who ran the second leg, it was the chance to prove he can perform in the senior ranks. As for Wade van Niekerk, it provided a triumphant return to the podium after 8 long years of battling back from a career-threatening knee injury and what he described as fighting with the 400 meters. While for anchor leg runner Zakita Nene, it was some consolation after finishing 5th in the individual 400-meter final. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. It was one of those performances, albeit that they ran the same time as the Americans, a race won by the Botswanans, who completely upstaged the Americans. It was just a photo finish that gave South Africa third place at the World Athletics Championships. But was it a success? Yes, the event, of course, was a huge success. There were some fantastic results, full stadiums, lots of fantastic athletics. As for South Africa, I don't know so much about it being a success. We sent a lot of people there. We came back with a bronze medal, a 4th place for Johan du Plessis in the javelin, missing out after being 3rd for most of the event. As for the 100 meters, well, flattering to deceive, Akani Simpine. And, of course, our 800-meter runner, well, she didn't do so well this time, did she? Now, 2 standout performances came from the pole vaulter, Armand Duplantis, a world record, and Sydney McLaughlin-Livroni. Other stars dazzled too in the National Stadium. The USA and Kenya asserted their authority on the track. Duplantis electrified a packed crowd by setting his 14th world record of his career in an event he has redefined. The US-born Swede, one of athletics' genuine superstars, seems to be able to summon up world records at will. His latest 6.30 meters. His ecstatic celebrations with his competitors, his parents, and his girlfriend were also fun to watch. Sydney McLaughlin-Livroni, the USA's women's 400 meters. She came, she saw, and she conquered a new event, nearly breaking a 40-year-old world record in a remarkable women's 400-meter final. She already dominates the one-lap hurdles event, so when the American fully turned her attention to the flat race, it was an exciting prospect, and she didn't disappoint. Also, the women's 100, 200, and 4x100-meter relay runner, Melissa Jefferson-Wooden. She became just the second woman to win a sprint treble at a world championship since Jamaica's legend Shelly-Ann Fraser-Price in 2013. Victory in the 4x100 with the US quartet yesterday added to a commanding 100-meter performance that left Olympic 100-meter champion Julian Alfred for dead. Jefferson-Wooden, who's 24, became the 4th fastest 100-meter performer in history, with a time of 10.61. And Oblique Seville, the fastest man in the world. The 24-year-old Jamaican has long promised great things, but he emphatically delivered, leaving teammate Kishan Thompson and Olympic champion Noah Lyles with minor medals as he blasted to the men's 100-meter gold at 9.77 seconds. Now, he doesn't hold the world record, before you say he's not the fastest man in the world, but currently he is the fastest man in the world, the world champion. He ushered in a new era of men's Jamaican sprinting, following in the footsteps of the now retired Usain Bolt, a delighted spectator in Tokyo. Jimmy Gressier, the Frenchman, he was an unlikely winner of the 10,000 meters, an event normally dominated by athletes from East Africa, or at least African origin. And in a lively post-race interview, the Frenchman thanked the anti-doping authorities for creating a level playing field and promised to buy his girlfriend a car with his prize money, and then added a 5,000-meter bronze medal on the final night. Beatrice Chebet what an athlete. The 5,000 and 10,000 meter runner producing a blistering burst of speed to win the 5,000 and deny her fellow Kenyan Faith Kipyegon, the 1,500 meter winner, a double gold. In the process, she earned a memorable double herself, having also won the 10,000 meters. And Geordie Beamish of New Zealand, can you believe it, took a tumble in the heats of the steeplechase, jumped up, still qualified, and perhaps it was written in the stars that he would produce a last gasp spurt to edge defending champion Sufyan El Bakari for gold in the final. His surprise win was followed a day later by Olympic champion Hamish Kerr's high jump victory, making it a rare 2 golds for New Zealand. So that's it, done and dusted. World Athletics Championships, 2 years' time. They're off to China, to Beijing, for the next edition in September in 2 years' time. Right, now, the World Athletics Championships was a fantastic result for many athletes and teams from around the world, but the big result of the weekend, and I know it's a local one, but I tell you what, we spoke to them first, here on From the Boardroom to the Locker Room. We had a conversation with not only the captain, but the player and the coach. The winning kick coming from the fly half, the coach. They were all right here on From the Boardroom to the Locker Room. And perhaps we're a good omen for Griquas. They've won the Currie Cup. Who cares about the Vodacom United Rugby Championship? Those were the prophetic words by Coach Peter Berg as his team broke the Lions' hearts at Ellis Park as they snatched victory from the jaws of defeat, winning thanks to a George Whitehead penalty after the final whistle. Deja vu from a year ago. It was the second year the Lions gambled their URC chances on winning the domestic trophy, and for the second year in a row, a full-strength URC side could win the title, but didn't. The heartbreak was understandable and horrific if you're a Lions supporter, but for the rest of the competition, the rest of South Africa, and the rugby romantics like myself out there, it was a Currie Cup victory for the ages. These days, the so-called smaller unions fight for their right to remain afloat. And a team like Griquas may not have the crowd and infrastructure, but by golly, do they have the heart. They have a bunch of players who would never lay down, and a coach who must surely now be on the precipice of a URC franchise call-up. Peter Berg is one of the best coaches in the country, a rising star, and it would be a travesty if a URC franchise doesn't see his value in some capacity in the next few months. Still, this was supposed to be a one-sided final. The Lions had romped into Saturday's game on the back of a clear difference in quality and the decision to play most of their URC squad in the Currie Cup while the other teams withdrew their players was a contentious one. It didn't pay off for them as well. So going into the final, Greek was supposed to lie down and play dead. The Lions walloped them 37-7 a few weeks back at the same venue. They'd shown every team they faced they were a class above and they were expected to win, but Griquas had other ideas. The David Goliath scenario gave them hope rather than despair, and Berg's prophetic words when he entered the change room last Monday set the scene for one of the biggest upsets ever in the competition's history. And so emotional, he said, I've been emotional since the final whistle. The whole week, he said, he walked into the team room and said, if I hear the word URC this week, you get a 500 Rand fine. He says, we're not playing the URC, we're playing the Lions, and they got 23 players, and we've got 23, as it wasn't mentioned the whole week. And that was the mindset going into the game. So it's the first time since 1970. He's obviously very proud, and hopefully they won't have to wait another 55 years. But what was so interesting was the logo on their chest, which, of the years, say, when they won the Currie Cup. And it was amazing. I was so keen and so eagle-eyed, if you like, to see 1899, 1911 and 1970 that was on their left breast on their rugby jersey. And I just thought how poetic it would be if they were to add 2025 to that. And my goodness, so they did. I do have a little bit of an affection, I must be honest with you, to Kimberley, having spent some time living there. But what a performance. What an absolutely amazing performance by them. And as far as the game is concerned, I mean, they just never gave up. Even when the ball was kicked out of play after the hooter and the Lions were jumping up and down and celebrating, the TMO gave a very worthy decision, one which years ago would have been completely missed in the headlines in the newspapers on Sunday. Would have been how Griquas were denied victory by virtue of the referee not seeing an infringement. Well, video referees these days can make some very crucial decisions, and that was the most important of them all, to be honest. Poor Lions, who'd already celebrated the victory, had to stand and watch as George Whitehead slotted the penalty over the posts and gave the Griquas that amazing victory. 1899, 1911, 1970, 2025. Well done, Peterberg, George Whitehead, and that whole Griquas team. And I guess the good omen is from the boardroom to the locker room. We will be chatting to them, I can promise you, in the weeks to come once they've settled down and the emotions settle and rest, and we can go back and look at their season and see how things developed from there. Right, there was some other rugby over the weekend, and it was the surprise of the tournament in most eyes. It certainly wasn't, because I called it, didn't I? I did say that I thought Canada were going to beat the Black Ferns, the New Zealand women's rugby team. And what a magnificent performance by the Canadians. Now, here's an interesting fact that you might not have known. The Canadian women rugby team, to go to the Rugby World Cup, had to fund their trip themselves. Yes, sounds like Banyana, doesn't it? So the Canadian women in the final of the Rugby World Cup, where they will come up against England. England got the better of France, 35-17. Canada beat the All Blacks. Well, I keep calling them the All Blacks, but the New Zealand women, 34-19 to set up the final. Canada versus England, and then France and New Zealand will play off for the third and fourth place. I suppose it really does count when I say it's like kissing your sister. You know, when we talk about third place and fourth place playoffs in world competitions this time, it really is like kissing your sister. So it will be England against Canada in the final of the Rugby World Cup coming up this weekend. There was also an international match between Samoa and Chile, 32-all. What an exciting game that turned out to be. So 34-all in that one. The rugby fixtures coming up for the week, well, I can tell you there are plenty of them. Friday night sees the Stormers against Leinster. The URC's underway. Ulster then play the Dragons and the Glasgow Warriors play the Sharks. Saturday morning, 7:05, the Bledisloe Cup, New Zealand host Australia, and then at 5:10, the Springboks against Argentina. Oh, what we could do for a draw in that New Zealand-Australia game. Both South Africa and Argentina would love a draw in that game. And then, of course, the final of the World Cup, Canada against England at 5 o'clock that afternoon, and New Zealand play France in the curtain raiser to that game. And then the Bulls play the Ospreys at 2 o'clock. Zebras against Edinburgh, Llanelli Scarlets against Munster, Connacht against Benetton, and Cardiff against the Lions. It's all happening. Rugby, rugby, rugby. Can you believe the United Rugby Championship starts in September? My goodness, no break whatsoever. But of course, there won't be any of the Springboks, All Blacks, or others in those URC teams to start with, as they are still playing in the Rugby Championship. Kings Park in Durban for the South Africa-Argentina game. And then, of course, they're off to Twickenham in London for the second game between those two sides. And that could very well be the title decider for the United Rugby Championship this year. Motorsport, and what an opportunity missed, perhaps, by Lando Norris. After Oscar Piastri made not one but two mistakes this weekend. Had a mistake in hitting the wall on Saturday in qualifying, and then made exactly the same mistake in the race. Didn't even get past the first lap. And there was an opportunity which went to begging. Albeit he did pick up 6 points, did Lando Norris. But let's be perfectly honest here, it might not be over yet. 25-point gap between the two of them, but it's not just the two of them, because now Max Verstappen, 2 wins in a row, and his car's looking really, really good. There's ever been a doubt about his ability. He still is by far the best driver on the circuit. Well, he's still a threat for the Formula One driver's title, and so says McLaren team boss Andrea Stella. The Red Bull driver had looked out of the running for a 5th title in a row after falling 104 points behind the leader Oscar Piastri following the Dutch race at Zandvoort at the end of August. But remember, he's very much in contention now as the gap's down to 69 points in the space of just 2 races. With 7 rounds remaining, including 3 sprint races, there are 199 points still to be won. So, you never know. Verstappen has now won 4 of the 17 Grand Prix, only 1 fewer than McLaren's title contender Lando Norris has achieved. The 27-year-old has started from more pole positions than anyone this season, 6 times. Piastri has 5 more laps than Norris. Verstappen was not allowed to make any declarations of intent, however. He says he doesn't rely on hope. It's still 7 rounds left. 69 points is a lot, so I personally don't think about it. Well, it's definitely something that he should be thinking about, because he is definitely in contention for the Drivers' Championship, as, of course, is Norris and Piastri. But it was a very, very, very sad day for Lando Norris sad weekend, in fact, because it really was an opportunity that was pretty much given to him on a plate. He hit the wall, tapped the wall on Saturday in qualifying, which pushed him down to 7th on the grid, and then he just could not pass anybody, and once again his team let him down in a pit stop. So it could have been oh so different. But the hero of the day has to be Carlos Sainz, a 4-time race winner with Ferrari, hailed Williams' first Formula One podium since 2021 as a career highlight as he finished 3rd in Azerbaijan. The Spaniard's first since he left Ferrari at the end of last year, and the team's first in a Grand Prix that went the full distance since Lance Stroll was 3rd in Azerbaijan in 2017. George Russell was 2nd for Williams in Belgium in 2021, but that race started behind the safety car and was stopped after 3 laps due to heavy rain, with only half points awarded. Sunday in Baku, in dry conditions with genuine pace, it was on merit. George Russell again came 2nd. Williams have now scored 101 points, more than they've managed in the previous 7 seasons combined. And Sainz said the podium vindicated his decision to join the team after leaving Ferrari. He now has his first podium for Williams before his Ferrari replacement, 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton. He hasn't managed to do the same at the Italian team. Great race. Great fun. What a racetrack. It's surely. Although there might be those, and I might even be one of those, who thought that perhaps the DRS train that was there, unfortunately, didn't really allow for much overtaking. So a couple of weeks off again, and on the 5th of October, the action in Singapore, and of course is at the Marina Bay Street Circuit in Singapore. Lots of action still to come, and then another 2-week break before they go off to the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, and then Mexico and Brazil and Las Vegas, Qatar and Abu Dhabi. My goodness, the season's fast approaching the climax at the end of the year. Right, let's just touch on some golf news over the weekend, and the golf world, the French Open, was won by Michael Kim. He shot 16 under par, 268, a final round 65 to win by a stroke from Zhong Win Ko, Elvis Smiley, who ended on 15 under par. That was, of course, the best that they could do. Michael Kim winning that one, with Jaden Schapper, the South African, coming home in 9th place. And then, of course, it was the Sunbet Challenge hosted by Sun Sibaya. That ended this weekend. Louis Albertser won that on a playoff, beating Peter Moolman. The two of them finished on 11 under par. That, of course, there. And then on the Betway Big Easy Tour, it was Harry Connick, the Brit, who won that from Brandon Peters at 8 under par, shooting 208. This week, of course, the big one. Yep, it is the Ryder Cup. Samuel Ryder, that came, of course, as a merchant businessman, donated the trophy, and the name of the trophy in his name has been played ever since 1927. So we'll talk about the Ryder Cup later on from the boardroom to the locker room. Let's move along to football news, shall we? And it was a very interesting weekend indeed. Let's start with the Betway Premiership and the results from the local football. Obviously, Kaizer Chiefs and Orlando Pirates were in action in Africa, so their game, Chiefs against Galaxy, was postponed, as was Amazulu Pirates game postponed. Polokwane City yesterday beat Chippa United by 2-1. Saturday saw a 1-1 draw between Orbit College and Marumo Gallants. Melody Sundowns beat Durban City 3-1. Stellenbosch FC's poor season continues. 1-0 lost at home to Richards Bay. Sekhukhune United 1-0 over Golden Arrows. Magesi 2-0 over Siwelele. And as I say, the AmaZulu game against Pirates was postponed. So let's have a look at the fixtures then for the Betway Premier League this week. Siwulele play Orlando Pirates on Tuesday evening. That's tomorrow night at 7:30. Then on Wednesday, it's Arrows against Sundowns, Chiefs against Gallants, Orbit College play Polokwane City, Richards Bay play Magesi, Sekhukhune United play Chippa. Stellenbosch FC will hope to get their season underway again when they play Durban City, and TS Galaxy play AmaZulu. And lastly this evening, let's look at the Premier League action from the weekend. We start with the results, and Manchester City were holding off against Arsenal. After scoring in the 9th minute, Arsenal came back and scored in referee's optional time to level matters at 1-1. Gabriel Martinelli scoring in the 93rd minute after Erling Haaland put Manchester City ahead in the 9th minute. Sunderland and Aston Villa drew 1-1. It was a good result for Aston Villa after a poor start to the season. They picked up a point. Matty Cash scoring for them with an absolute rocket in the 67th minute, and Wilson Isidore levelling for Sunderland in the 75th minute there, and there are no goals in the Bournemouth-Newcastle match. Saturday saw Fulham beat Brentford by 3-1. Manchester United got a win against Chelsea, even though they played for quite a considerable amount of that game with just 10 men, but an absolutely vital result for Manchester United in that one. They, of course, now hopefully will get their season back underway. 2-1 victory, both goals coming in the first half from Casemiro and the opening goal from Bruno Fernandes. And Chalobah got a goal in the 80th minute to make things a little uncomfortable for United in the last 10. Wolverhampton Wanderers 1, Leeds United 3. Wolves are on a shocking run at the moment. Burnley and Forest drew 1-1. Brighton and Spurs drew 2-2. And Liverpool held off against Everton after again going ahead early. Gravenberg scoring in the 10th minute, great goal by him, and Ekitike in the 29th, and then Idris Gueye getting a goal back for Everton just before the hour mark to get Everton back in the game, but Liverpool eventually held on to win by 2-1. What does that mean as far as the Premier League table is concerned? Well, it means Liverpool are 5 points clear already of Arsenal, and Spurs and Bournemouth that all have 10, Liverpool 15 points, with Crystal Palace on 9 in 5th place, Chelsea 8 points along with Sunderland and Fulham, and then down in 9th, Manchester United, Everton on 7, Manchester City, on 7, Everton on 7, United on 7, Leeds United on 7, Newcastle 6, Brighton 5 along with Nottingham Forest, Burnley and Brentford have 4, and then Villa and West Ham 3 points, and Aston Villa played 5, lost 5. Not too sure what's going on at Wolverhampton Wanderers at the moment, even though they have extended their manager Victor Pereira's contract for 3 more years, despite them sitting at the bottom of the table. So they obviously have faith in him to get that team through the next couple of months and hopefully stay in contention. Now, there's lots of Champions League action coming up. Tuesday evening, Athletic Club play Girona, Espanyol play Valencia, Levante play Real Madrid, Seville play Villarreal. There is, of course, the Carabao Cup this week as well. Barnsley against Brighton, Burnley against Cardiff, Fulham against Cambridge, Lincoln against Chelsea, Wigan play Wickham, Wolves play Everton, Wrexham play Reading, and Liverpool play Southampton. And then there's more action on Wednesday evening as far as the UEFA Europa League is concerned, as well as action in the Carabao Cup. Huddersfield play Man City, Newcastle, Bradford, Spurs, Doncaster, and Port Vale will entertain Arsenal. It promises to be a great sporting week. We'll chat to you again. More action on From the Boardroom to the Locker Room as we preview the Ryder Cup. And then, of course, on Friday evening, our preview of a sporting weekend that promises to be a good one. Until next time, be nice to each other, and bye for now.